Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for episode 3 of CXplorers podcast. Again, my name is Daniel Cheung, and with me I have our co host, Jasper Nastor. How's it going, Jasper?
Doing pretty good, man. Never a dull
Nice.
moment in the industry.
For sure. Any plans for the weekend?
Not much yet. Me and my wife are kind of like a sprung in the moment kind of couple. So we have something planned in our head, then we just go through it right then and there.
Very nice. I'll be on a plane to Dominican on Sunday, so I need to get out of this Canadian winter right now, even though the weather hasn't been that bad here. So I know on our last episode, Jasper, we talked about the use cases for some of the subsets of artificial intelligence technologies like generative AI, how it can be used to identify and better monitor and enhance customer experiences and even customer service. So I wanted to build on that today because a lot of times what I've seen is customer support, customer service experience, and those teams, they're often perceived as a cost center for many organizations. And I think the challenge that I've seen in my experience, at least, is the pivot point for those groups to have the perception that they're a revenue generating center versus a cost center. And I know this might be a divisive comment, but it's my opinion, and I know that I'm not the only one that shares this. But I believe that a good customer experience, excellent service and sales abilities really drive retention and potential sales. And that is a revenue generating center. And I think there's a lot of proof in the pudding when we look at a lot of the, I wouldn't even say luxury goods, but kind of specialty goods, whether that's watches, because again, no one today actually needs watches. You have, phones and clocks everywhere. But it's the experience, I think, when you're purchasing these items, right? Whether it's a nice handbag or whether it's a milestone item you're buying to celebrate or something, or even a nice vehicle, right? And I think when you walk into these boutiques and retailers and the experience that you get, they truly give you that white glove experience in the sense that they're wearing white gloves as they're bringing these products out to you and they're making you feel special. And I think that goes a long way when a customer feels that they're being part of a special club and they're buying into something that they've saved up really hard for, a lot of their hard earned dollars, and they're being part of this club per se. And I think that creates a lot of customer loyalty. And we're seeing a lot of different potential use cases and ideas with spatial computing, with augmented reality, with virtual reality. And I know that, me and you have been talking about even some articles that Sprout Video had shared on just some of the specifics of how can some of these new technologies like generative AI help improve customer interactions, enhance those interactions. How do we simulate different customer simulations and experiences for even frontline agents that are serving these customers to really make them experts in their field and provide a best in class type of experience, and all while looking at creative content creation done through generative AI. So maybe if you want to kind of dive into your expertise in terms of what you kind of see from ways that we could even use video generation, because I know with OpenAI they're releasing Sora this year, and that's pretty exciting, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of different type of advertising and marketing that could definitely be used. But I'm keen to hear from your perspective, right, in terms of generative AI in the context of any type of video or multimedia. How can that really be used in the context of customer experiences?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'll start off first by saying to all of our listeners that I myself, I have dabbled into video editing, believe it or not, Daniel, for quite some time now. So, I use it with a lot of content creation that I do, personally with some of the hobbies that I do. So, one of the things, and I'm talking on experience here, I've actually worked back then when I was starting out my career with a technical support for one of the biggest computer companies in North America. So, we handle a lot of inquiries coming from customers as simple as turning on the computer, man. We get inquiries like that. So imagine I have to walk customers through via phone and not very techie person for them to be able to like open up Edge, open up settings and whatnot. And it's a hard job, right? And I do respect, all our frontline agents that are actually doing that. Now, talking about how we can incorporate generative AI, right? AR, VR revolving around that when it comes to customer support, if we actually utilize Gen AI, especially with Sora, right, for us to be able to integrate all those materials, learning OKBs of computer manuals and everything, be able to put that into Gen AI and Sora, and be able to generate, content around how to do this, how to do that. I mean, that's just gold, man. It can easily elevate customer experience by not even talking to an agent actually, and just being able to do self-service as a matter of fact, right? And at the same time, right, if agents are actually talking to customers directly, and if they're having a hard time running through all those steps, they can just easily share videos that's actually AI generated, right, with the use of LLMs in Sora right now, and be able to just give that out to the customer, as opposed to like doing all those very manual stuff. I even remember one time where I had to kind of like ask the customer, "Can you take a picture of this? Can you take a picture of that?" Right, and it's a very tedious process, right, and it affects customer service definitely. So, using Gen AI, Sora, video generation, I mean, that takes it to the next level.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from a training and kind of simulation perspective, it makes it very real for the frontline agents to kind of know the scenarios that they're going to be potentially put in and put themselves in our shoes as customers, right? In terms of how do I handle these scenarios? And I know, um, having come from the banking industry many years ago, the training that I got was intense from the bank that I worked with, and they had a mock branch set up, and you would have fake customers, which were the managers essentially that would come in with very complex different types of transactions. And you'd go through this ringer for a good week to really understand how to handle pressure and handle someone that's kind of in a rush. And recently, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I was actually at the bank that I used to work for. And there was a lady in front of the line, and she was with a teller and basically doing a transaction. They were like, "Hey, we're going to send you a text message that you need to verify through the app, and then we can continue." And I thought to my head, I was like, what happens if someone doesn't actually have internet or a cell phone or these technologies? How are they going to verify that? And how has someone been trained for that? Right now, this could create a very stressful scenario. Now, if this person isn't trained to handle that, lo and behold, lady's like, "I don't have a cell phone. I don't have internet." And immediately I could see the two people behind her in line just rolling their eyes. They're like, "This is going to take even longer now for them to get served." And I'm like, not everyone has to have a cell phone or internet. And immediately this teller was able to leverage her training, probably from that virtual environment that, all of those bankers go through, and she was able to come up with a resolution, a new verification method. They went kind of old school with it, but again, it didn't delay that overall transaction time. She was still helped. The lineup wasn't frustrated behind her, and she exercised that training and remained calm and just kind of again went back to her basic knowledge. And I think to what you're saying is we can have a lot more reach in terms of how we train and really provide immersive training to really help our frontline folks understand, you know, what's my customer potentially facing and how can I see it from their lens. And I think putting a customer virtually even in front of them really makes that a lot more real for them.
Exactly, because also from a training standpoint, we always tell agents, put yourself in the customer's shoes, right? It's easier said than done, right? You don't really have a way for agents to be able to, like what you said, simulate that. But with the use of this new era of Gen AI, Sora video generation, that changes everything.
What about in terms of just learning methodologies? How do you see generative AI like Sora, like Dolly, like some of these technologies help with new air agents that are joining the customer service industry to really absorb information quicker and more comprehensively?
Yeah. So it actually also ties in, right, with what we've already discussed, right? So video within training is it's actually not something new, right? I think everyone knows that when you're getting onboarded, or even when you're at the recruitment center, there's a lot of video that explains to you what the company is, what we do, and whatnot. But this time it would take it to the next level by being able to really engage with the agents in a way that you actually have not even been able to do before, with just explanation, talking through some of the theories that we have. But if you actually utilize Gen AI, Sora, and AR, VR with that, agents would have a much more immersive feel of training, right? That can essentially shorten the learning curve, right? Because a lot of people, they have different types of learning style, right? So some are visual, some are more theoretical, but being able to combine both visual and theoretical learning style with the new gen of technology, that's definitely going to elevate the way we're actually training agents and be able to shorten the learning curve overall.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to just how people absorb information today. If you look at, again, YouTube, Instagram, social media, TikTok, Snapchat, all of these have created versions of short, digestible clips that are like no longer than a Vine. And I think Vine started the whole trend, right?
Yeah, 7 second videos.
Exactly. But people have got so acclimatized to absorbing information and content this way. And I think to your point, right, it's if I've just graduated, I'm going into my first, real job, let's say, and I'm sitting through 2 weeks of an in-class training session, looking at PowerPoint decks, watching, the training managers do some role play sessions, and then maybe about 15 people are consistently engaged, raising their hands to kind of show, hey, look how good I am, what a great employee I am. But I think the reality is a lot of that knowledge has to constantly get refreshed very quickly because there's so much to digest, and it's like drinking from a fire hose those first 2 weeks. And this is really where you run into people as well. And I'm not saying it's in a negative manner, everyone's situation is different, but we get what you call your professional trainees that just kind of hop from training class to training class at different companies because they know kind of what that model is going to look like. But I think to what you're talking about is with a lot of the generative AI technologies out there and creating a more immersive experience for them. People always tell me, and our trainers always tell me, that I learn by doing. The hands-on experience is critical. And it's like the whole adage of people saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's the same thing as a conversation's worth 1,000 emails, right? By really creating an immersive real-time experience, you're able to absorb so much more information and put it into practice than just reading it and then trying to take a guess at how you should actually do that. And I think the ancillary benefit is you also remove those kind of nervousness and that reluctance to do the job after training because you're have a much higher comfort level. And as a result of that, from a performance perspective, you're reducing that speed to competency, and you're really reducing that variance in terms of everyone meeting the mean goal and targets, right? By doing something like that. And to your point, right, it's you can then have much more efficacy in training and follow-up training by, again, using that immersive experience, putting the customer in front of them and being able to kind of show them, here's the different options we could have taken based on the knowledge and the processes that we follow here.
Exactly, because if you look at it, I know there are also some ways of going through immersiveness, right? So there's going to be ways where you can actually have that physical product that one would be supporting. I know we were actually doing that before with some of the companies that I've worked with, like say for example that computer brand that I mentioned. We have those actual product right in front of us, right? But from a cost perspective, it's actually not going to be really ideal for you to be sending out those products just to be tested, just to be dissected by training agents, right? So if you do have that AR, VR functionality that you can just feed through all the schematics, all the blueprint, all the 3D stuff, I mean, you can just do Tony Stark, whatever during training, right? That's definitely going to be a huge deal as well.
And I think it's not just AR and VR use cases, right? When we look at just generative AI as a whole, it has the ability to kind of create different themes and tailor them, whether it's print media, whether it's digital marketing assets, right? All of those, I think, kind of play a big role into that. For those that aren't familiar within our listeners of what Sora is, because I know we've been dropping that term around a lot, Jasper, do you want to maybe just break it down real quick in terms of what Sora is?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, for everyone, Sora is actually the new product that OpenAI just released. So it's going to be the new multimodal type of LLM where it can generate, realistic, imaginative scenes by using text prompts, right? So it's using a lot of diffusion model that also uses transformer architecture for it to be able to craft those meaningful videos. Say, for example, you want to be able to generate something like a cool landscape that has maybe cows in it. So you just type that and it magically turns that into video. So that's multimodal AI for you guys right now.
Thanks, Jasper. So I guess we talked about, how we can leverage some of these generative AI technologies to enhance the training and frontline agent experience, and how in previous episodes it can be used for much more personalized type of marketing for a set group that, companies may want to be targeting from in a marketing perspective. How does the enhancements of immersive training and simulations for frontline agents to really provide best in class customer service, we know that this can drive retention and further growth in sales and loyal customer loyalty. But what do you see as kind of the ancillary benefit or the bigger benefit here in terms of if now an agent is going through this type of learning where it's very immersive, they're coming out there, what's in it for me as a customer, for a company to invest like that, to provide all of these investments into their technology used within even frontline agent training?
Yeah. So the first one, on top of my head would definitely be reduction of support tickets, right? Because if you're going to be able to have, these super powered agents that can handle a lot of inquiries on a faster manner, simply because right then and there, when they came from training and taking live calls, they don't need to be tenure enough for them to be able to efficiently handle call types as the same way that we usually do it, right? They don't have to take in a lot of calls, a lot of man hours just to be able to be adept on certain types of call drivers because they've already experienced it pre-hand, right? So definitely that's going to be one of the major benefit. And at the same time, you've already mentioned customer experience, employee experience as well, right? Retention with our employees because we're now investing in them, not just investing just for the sake of, and they're actually going to appreciate that even better. And better employee would equal to better product and better customer loyalty overall.
And I think with generative AI, the ability to do much more immersive follow through and post sales activity, post onboarding is also critical for that, right? It's, let's say I bought a product and now I'm getting a lot more visuals in terms of support guides, walkthrough guides. I'm getting thank you notes automatically personalized through the use of large language models that can create these personalized message based on my buying behaviors and the products that I've bought. Right. And again, no one needs to actually, you don't need to pay someone to kind of sit there and create all of this. It's just becomes part of that natural follow through. And I think, again, that goes to a part that I think is really lacking in the customer service industry is the post sales activity. Right. And I know with Rogers, at least in Canada, there's a lot of survey responses that I provide a lot of details around, but there's really no follow up in terms of that, right? And I've even put in a lot of my customer surveys that I complete for, a lot of the products and services I purchase. I always write as comments like, just have someone call me, right? Just to really see if there's going to be any follow through from there. And I'd say 100% of the time so far, none of them have, right? And I think that's really one of the areas and opportunities that organizations can look at when it comes to customer experience is that post follow up type of engagement, right? And I know with certain brands, I'm not going to say all of them, right? But a lot of the watch brands that I'm a big fan of, they engage regularly, right? I have their salesperson who sends me, images every couple of months on WhatsApp, and he's like, "Hey, we got some new shipment in, we got some new orders on. Come and take a look, try them on, no pressure." And I make an appointment. There's a coffee waiting for me when I go in there, and I get to just talk shop with this guy, right? In terms of what I like, what I don't like about that, and he's taking these notes and feedback back to the company and saying, hey, maybe we can come up with a more customized option here for this type of customer, right? And that goes a long way because when you start to see that evolution of their product line and how they're taking customer feedback in their post follow up, post sales process, goes huge in terms of driving me back as a repeat customer because I'm like, hey, you've heard my feedback. I told you that I want a product that looks like this. You've made it. Here's my money. Right. And generally, I think that's really a big area of opportunity where we're always too kind of much in the weeds of what's in the here and now of just getting more sales, onboarding them, giving them that good experience. But it falls off after they've already signed up or subscribed or been a customer, right? And I think that's really where there's a big opportunity for re-engagement, and a lot of the generative AI technologies can be really instrumental in terms of personalizing that approach and that process.
And to that point, Dan, I just want to share one of the things that we're currently doing right now within Contact Point 360. We're actually helping out one of our clients to search for an intelligent virtual agent solution, which is another Gen AI product that automates and augments agent outbound and even inbound calls, right? So think of your regular IVR but on steroids, right? So it crafts audio synthesis of actual human-like voice, right? So essentially, the use case that we're currently looking at would be after a product is availed, right? There's going to be an outbound welcome onboarding call that's going to be AI generated for this client. So that actually follows through then with what you mentioned when it comes to customer post support and unwelcome onboarding call. That actually eliminates, human effort, right? Because you're asking AI to do that, and that also affects customer experience overall with that kind of approach. So just want to be able to share to all of our listeners that this is an actual product right now, and this is an actual service that we're currently doing as well.
That is very cool stuff. I think we can that technology and what you're talking about, Jasper, warrants its own conversation because I'm keen to learn more in terms of how that can what you've started to see as we kind of ventured on that journey and creating all of this. So again, we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for our fourth episode. Again, thank you, Jasper, for joining today and for our listeners. And look forward to our next conversation to kind of dive deeper into terms of some of the exciting things you're working on, actually, Jasper, and what you kind of see in the next few months in terms of that development, some of the potential use cases for that.
For sure, for sure. Excited as well. Thank you so much to all of our listeners.
So, thanks, everyone.